Nice, Brody. All right. All right. You good?
Yep.
Okay. Fantastic. It is 7:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, October 26th, 2025. I'm going to be Director Brian Knight. San Andreas State Marshals. For sake of, well, your rights and et cetera, and I do this with everyone, at this time you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you by the state if one is available. The intention of this recording is for administrative and internal matters. However, given the fact that we don't have Brady law, I'm going to do this just for sake of posterity. In the event, some of this does uncover some criminal matters, it can be utilized for said things. So I just want to be clear and open about that. Answers that are given can be used for administrative decisions, suspensions, firings, etc. With all that in mind, do you wish to speak with me?
Yes.
Okay. Could you state your full name, rank, and call sign, as well as state ID?
001 Harold Hobbler, Deputy Marshal of the San Andreas State Marshals.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. So we have discussed this topic previously over at the news center. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes.
Okay. And you've also produced a private report titled Unscheduled Contact.
Yes.
Okay. So this is pertaining to that. Now note that we are kind of opening up the door for IAA, name pending TM, depending on whether the feds are cool with it or not. It doesn't really matter. It's just a fucking name, but we'll see how that goes. But effectively, the intention of it is I want to ensure that there are only a limited number of folks who are involved in, say, internal matters, whether it's, once again, administrative, criminal, etc. I don't want these matters to just get out there. I don't want people to end up getting like fucking bullied or, it turning into like tea time. So these things are going to be kept internal unless it becomes criminal in nature, right? And even then, we're going to try to handle it in a very pocketed group. With that said, sure. I do, as I sort of stated previously, I expect the truth. I also fully expect extra verbosity. So, for example, a cupcake is missing, right? And, and I ask you, Hobbler, do you know who took the cupcake? And say, no, I don't. But leaving out the fact that, hey, I did see some blacked out individual, in here earlier. If you were to leave that out, that would be a problem just as much, right?
Yeah,
so
understood.
Yeah. Integrity is something that is very important to me. Secondly, the oath, and because if people cannot look towards SASM as a department that they can turn to, whether it's like government corruption, whether it's terrorism, whatever, well then, fuck it. At that point, there's who are they going to turn to next? Local PD. You saw that situation just now. Holy fucking shit. How many times you got to ask on radio, like, is this still a 78 when cops are being held up? How many times do people need to ask, or, what vehicle, this, that, and the third? Open your ears, man. Right?
Yeah, GSR, DNA testing.
Precisely. So I want to sort of like, I'm going to re-ask some things that are already in your statement, just so if this is referred back to, there's sort of a, they can refer to this and use your report as a secondary or primary or whatever. So, is it correct that you received a call from an unknown number between October 10th and October 15th?
Yes, I believe those dates are correct.
Is there a means by which you could get a more approximate date? A more accurate date?
No.
Okay.
No, not
Um,
without looking at my own records. I would have to see that.
okay. Um, if you were to get those records, could you do so in the next coming days?
Yeah. Yeah, I could look
Okay.
at it.
What happened? And so, for reference, this is what happened in that? What was stated to you in that unknown phone call?
It was an unknown phone call with a modulated voice. The voice said to meet at the pier. I forget exactly what they said, but
When
they
you say
wanted me
at
to.
the pier, where is that in
He
reference to
said,
your GPS?
well, it would be Lake Vinewood Estates because he said the Vinewood Pier, which I was confused of in the first place because I
Mm-hmm.
am thinking Del Perro Pier, but
Off
I
Lake
this
Vinewood Drive?
yeah, I thought that would be the only location because I
Yeah.
asked him over the phone, what do you mean the Del Perro Pier? Like what are you talking about, Vinewood Pier? And they said, yes, the Vinewood Pier. So I thought, well, the only water in Vinewood is near Lake Vinewood Estates.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove up there, drove along the water surplus road or this water service road. Um, and I was off duty. And then I see this pickup truck parked next to the dock on the western side.
Northwestern?
Um, yes, the northwestern side. Let me double check here. I would say the western side of Vinewood Hills Estates.
Okay. And that's on the north of the lake?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes,
when you
just
say
south of
pickup truck,
us.
could you describe that pickup truck to me?
Um, it was like a gray and black Caracara.
Was it could it have been a Marshall car?
No, it was a civilian model with the fender flares.
With the fender flares. Okay. And were the colors similar to that of a Marshall?
It was gray and black.
Right.
So it had a livery on it, and it was gray and black.
Could you describe the livery?
It had kind of gray, blocky lines. Like the front was gray due to the sticker livery on it, and the base color was probably black. I mean, probably as in either the livery was black and the base was gray, or the livery was gray and the base was black. But
Hmm.
it was like half of the vehicle was gray, half was black, and it kind of split in the middle, like a full body livery.
I see. Was gray and black like separated off a line, or was it?
It was like a blocky, almost like a race car type design, like a street racer
I
design or
see.
something.
What was the main color?
Uh, it was like 50% gray, 50% black.
Okay. And was it 50% the line? Made up of the line of a different color? Or I'm trying to like
Uh,
visualize this in my head.
so imagine the front is painted gray, the back is painted black, and then there's like the black has like a rectangle that continues to the front of the vehicle, like near the
Like a
driver's
stripe?
passenger door. Yeah, like a stripe sort of.
Okay.
It's like one of the common. If you look at the Caracara, it would be one of the liveries in there. On the civilian Caracara, it probably
I see.
you'd realize what I'm saying if you looked at it, probably.
Understood. Okay. Are any of these ones that are in our motor pool or similar to the ones in our motor pool?
No.
Okay. And then what happened? So you found this truck. So I presume you thought this must be it.
Yeah, I thought this must be it. Then I noticed some boot prints going down to the dock. So
Mhm.
I got out, walked down following the boot prints. There was an individual dressed in all black at the end of the dock smoking a cigarette. I introduced myself or just said hi. I don't know if I said my name or just hi. They didn't say anything, and then they just pointed at me and pointed at the T-Tango, which was carved into the wood of the dock.
Mm. Like, was it like a wooden pole or like a wood on the ground? Like, where was it? Like, what kind of wood was it?
It was just on the dock wood.
So, like the panels of the dock.
Yes.
Okay. And he pointed, so presumably pointing at it as in this will be your code name. Would that be accurate? Or is that an
Yeah,
accurate
just like
Mhm.
yeah, like stand over there or like assigning me or I don't know. He just pointed at me and pointed at the word tango, T-Tango.
Okay. Were there other code names on there?
Not that I saw at the time.
Okay. So, because in your statement you mentioned that were various letters, right? So, what would the other various letters be?
Um well, let me think here. Yeah, there were some later on there were some other letters etched into the dock. It was like um there was like I think a W um and like three other letters. I don't quite remember what they were.
Three other letters, including what you suspect to be W.
W was one of them. And so mine was T Tango. There was another that was W. And then there were two others, I think.
Okay.
But I don't recall what they were.
Okay. Do you recall if they may have been like, um, so tango is like a NATO phonetic, right? Is the W possibly? Did you remember if stand by?
Sorry, what was that?
So tango is a. Yo, appreciate you. Was the W maybe W whiskey?
I I believe it was.
Okay. I'm gonna go through the NATO phonetics, and maybe this might remind you, and you let me know if it does or if it doesn't. Right?
Okay.
A is alpha, B is Bravo, C is Charlie, D is Delta, E is Echo, F is Foxtrot, G is Golf, H is Hotel, I is India, J is Juliet, K is Kilo, L is Lima, M is Mike, N is November, O is Oscar, P is Papa, Q is Quebec, R is Romeo, S is Sierra, T is Tango, U is Uniform, V is Victor, W is Whiskey, X is X-Ray, Y is Yankee, Z is Zulu. Do any of these?
Okay.
Mhm.
So Echo comes to mind for some reason, and Hotel, I think, comes like there's just I have a feeling about those, but I don't
Mhm.
clearly remember them.
Okay. Um, understood. And so you saw W whiskey, T tango for certain, right?
Yes.
And then you saw two other letters on top of that.
Yes.
Okay. And so this individual all blacked out, he pointed at, was there anything else other than, like, when you say blacked out, was there any other like particular qualities of his outfit that may have stood out, like any like off, like any colors other than black, or maybe they're wearing a motorcycle helmet or anything else that kind of stood out from memory?
Um, Black leather jacket.
Okay. Closed or open?
I believe it was open.
And what as a shirt underneath it?
I don't recall. It was just black.
Understood. Do you recall the mask or helmet that he was wearing?
No, not exactly. They might have had like the pilot goggles on, but I don't quite remember.
Understood. And so after he had pointed to T to Tango, what happened next?
I was kind of questioning like what is that? No answer, so I kind of just looked around for a little bit, and like within the minute, a couple other people started walking down to the dock. They were also masked up, um, and I introduced myself or said hi. I think I just said hi,
Mhm.
but they didn't answer. Um, and so after a little while, I just got a weird feeling, and it was pretty weird kind of meeting. So I just left at that point.
Okay. Um. So. Um. When the others arrived, did it include the individual that originally pointed at for Tango?
No, he didn't move the entire time. He was just standing there smoking at the end of the dock the whole time.
Understood. And so, how many came to the dock to you prior to you leaving?
Two came down the dock, and then one came down just seconds after that, like
So there was four at the
maybe
dock,
30
and then
seconds
the
after.
smoking guy.
Yes.
Okay. Just for sake of clarity, you arrived first from what it sounds like. And,
The smoking guy was there the whole time.
right. You were the
They're
first
pre.
guest, let's call it, right?
Yes.
And then came a third individual, but the second guest. And then came two other guests following that.
No, no. It was a pair of people. So I was there with the smoking guy at the end of the dock,
Mm-hmm.
and then a pair of people came down,
Mm-hmm.
like within, I don't know, a minute and a half or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then within a minute after that, another person came down just by themselves. So that would be me, two more people, and then one other person, and the smoking guy.
I see. Did they arrive on foot or vehicle?
They
From what you
arrived.
saw, right?
They arrived with vehicle.
The pair.
Yes.
And what vehicle did they arrive in?
Uh, I don't remember. It could have been just a rental car, like the black SUV,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't say for certain. But it may have been just a black rental car.
Okay. Did it look like the rental vehicle, like the Jeep or
I
whatever?
I really don't remember
Okay.
what their vehicle was, but I mean, I just get a feeling it may have been the rental vehicle because I just didn't really pay attention to it.
Understood. And then what about the last individual?
I really have no idea, but I have a for some reason want to say like dark blackish green vehicle. I really don't remember.
Understood. Um, and how long would you say you waited there before you decided to leave?
Um, no longer than like 2 minutes, probably, maybe more or less than that. Uh,
Okay.
I tried to, talk to them, but no one was responding, and it just seemed really like ominous.
Why did you go there off duty and not on duty?
Well, I was off duty at the time,
I see.
and when I don't know, when you get a call like that, it's like just I guess morbid curiosity.
Hmm. And what were you doing prior to that phone call?
I think I was customizing a vehicle at Mosley's or grabbing a paycheck or something like that.
I see. I think you had previously mentioned working on a vehicle. Were you working on that vehicle for a while? Or vehicles?
Um, Potentially. I really don't remember. I could have been the time I was repainting my like bug, my VW bug.
Okay. Were you with anyone?
No.
Okay. How long were you awake for prior to this meeting?
Quite a while. I would assume. I'm not sure. It must have been fairly close to the time when I got out of the ICU. So,
Why were you in the ICU? Sorry.
oh, I was in the ICU for like 4 weeks because, yeah, I was on an undercover operation, uh,
I understand.
looking into the New Babylon,
Mm.
secession, due to one of their lawyers saying that basically they secede and they don't recognize
Oh,
the laws of San
yes.
Andreas.
I remember this now. Yep.
Yeah, and I was found by the ambulance driver on the side of the dirt road near the fishing spot
Hmm.
with all kinds of knife wounds and a shot uh, to my neck, the side of my neck. So yeah, that was pretty traumatic. Um,
So you believe you had gotten out of the ICU that day, you think?
Probably not that day, but I just remember it was near the end of September when I got out of the ICU,
Hmm.
and I had a lot of things I was doing. Like I remodeled my or customized a couple of my cars, which I had set up for the UC op. Like my VW Bug was one of them, and I was proud of how I modified it to look pretty cool afterwards. It's
Hmm.
got like white and teal with the roof rack. It looks really classic and clean now.
Understood.
Um, Before it was like a rust bucket hippie looking turd.
So it sounds like
Um,
you had likely picked up a paycheck and maybe worked on your VW bug, at which point you received this ping, or this phone call, sorry.
I am very not certain about that. I'm just saying, like, these are the kinds of things that I was doing around that time.
So
I
would it
do
be
not
accurate to
recollect
say
that day.
you remember you were awake for a while that day, but you don't recall the specifics of what was happening prior to the call?
I do not remember exactly what occurred that day in whole, but I would say chances are more likely than not that I was probably on duty for a while. Um, then maybe I went off duty and checked on like my prescription that I was given by the doctor to help
Mm-hmm.
recover from my ICU visit because I was talking to Stacy Recht about getting like a prescription for some steroids and some therapy, some physical therapy. Um, and I know around that time I redid my vehicle because I would walk around with my cane and I would drive that vehicle, and I was proud of how it looks. It looks pretty good. So I know I remodeled that vehicle around, late September or early November. I don't know. Whenever I got out of the ICU.
Do you remember if you
Uh,
got the pain script the day of the phone call?
no, I do not remember that. I think it was before I got the phone call, probably.
Like before day wise or time wise?
Oh, like day wise, or I don't know, like a week.
Okay. I have other
Um,
concerns right now. Is that I'm more concerned with memory right now.
Probably at least a week beforehand. Actually,
Okay.
it's really hard to
I,
say,
I
but
want you to,
probably.
while I kind of look at some things, I want you to like try to recollect what had transpired that day. And this, I think exercise is very important because things are going to happen in the line of duty as a marshal that may come up, whether it's this or whether it's other matters investigatively. And, you know, ha- something may have happened 2 weeks ago to me, and I need to go and try to pinpoint a date because I may have just witnessed a murder and I didn't realize it at the time, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah, I can try to remember.
okay. I'm gonna let you kind of like think on that a bit while I kind of just pull some stuff up.
Okay.
104. Okay. Let me know whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what could have occurred before that.
Before that or on that day, anything on that day other than the phone call in the meeting.
Um, I'm really trying to think, but nothing's coming to mind.
Okay. Do you remember what happened after that day or before that day, like close in proximity? Like, because right now we've got like almost a 1 week. Hey, I remember, 2 weeks ago this thing happened, but this date spectrum is like a week. I can maybe try to help jog your memory. Give me a sec. A legislative meeting. Remember a legislative meeting?
Yes.
Do you
That
remember
was
if
like the day after you were hired as director, right? Or around that time?
do you remember attending it?
Yes.
Was that Do you remember the context of that meeting?
I remember McAllister was typing up it was like having to do with the PMC, the legality of the weapons that we use.
Do you remember if this was before or after the phone call and that meeting on the pier?
It was probably pretty close to the time, if not before the time.
Okay. All right. Give me a sec. Do you remember if it was before or after you wrote up the text records for Shanglu's bank account? Remember there was was it before or after the operation on the 10th? When we pulled you in and we had to start writing all those subpoenas? There was like there's the operation with
Shanglu.
Lagara and whatnot.
Yeah, that was the Shanglu
Mm-hmm.
subpoena.
We had to bang out a bunch of them. You started working on it.
Uh, that seems like it was a fairly long time ago, so I'm gonna say that was probably beforehand or around the time. I just know that was a while ago. That would be the 10th. So
Well, the 13th is, I think, yeah, it was around the 10th, and 13th, because
yeah, I think that's right.
the 13th is when you sent it to me. So was it around
Okay.
that time you may have received it?
Yeah, it was probably around that time.
Do you think it was the day? Like, do you remember? Because the situation was on the 10th, and you completed it on the 13th. Do you recall if during that 3-day window from the Lagara situation, the 13th, when you finished the report, do you remember whether the peer situation was during that time you were working on it? During that 3-day span?
So when I was working on the subpoena, I wrote a couple drafts of it. and then we met, and you wanted me to add in all the things from the 10th.
Mhm.
And I had that typed up probably like 2 or 3 days before that, without including everything that was occurring on the 10th. And then on the 10th or the 11th, I went back in and added everything that occurred there from
Mhm.
like that beach meeting.
Mhm.
So I she everything is compartmentalized, but I think it was somewhere around that time. It was probably around that time, yeah.
So you think that you don't remember whether or not you were, you'd been working on the subpoena in that window? You seem rather uncertain as to when you had this meeting. Um,
Yeah, I just when I'm off duty, I tend to just relax more. But it was around the time that I was typing up that subpoena, I would say.
okay, so would it be accurate to say that in the time window that you're writing up the subpoenas is when you went to the pier? And what level of like certainty is that?
Uh 60 to 70%, I would say.
I see. Um, so I guess for me, let me kind of come at this from a different angle. Why did you black out going to this meeting?
Blackout.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't everyone else blacked out?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't informed about what this meeting was. I was just randomly contacted via an unknown number, so
Were you
I
not blacked
basically
out?
just went straight there. No.
Oh, what were you wearing?
I was probably wearing one of my normal outfits, just like a flannel sweater with a t-shirt and some blue jeans.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of reframes quite a bit here. So you're telling me that this, how did the rest of them look?
They were all wearing like dark gray or black.
So you're the only one not wearing black, not blacked out?
Yeah. Yeah, I just showed up because I got called and it was like meet here immediately.
What were the instructions on the phone? Just meet at this location?
Yes, it was just meet at this location, Vinewood Pier.
So I want to utilize this opportunity to kind of mention that there are things that I'm aware of um, that have occurred. And some of this is starting to sound a little, um, perhaps it's been a while. It sounds like, you can't really pinpoint a particular time as to when this occurred. You did, you know, walk to a meeting with what sounds like everyone is blacked out outside of yourself. There's a bit of an inconsistency that I'm forming. Hobbler, you're not going to get fired for telling the truth, right? I want to also make it very clear that if, let's say there are things here that make you nervous and you think you need to hide some things in order to either protect folks or alternatively protect yourself, thinking that you may have done worse than it is, worse than what has happened, because I don't think what has happened is actually that bad. That it's better to be forward now, then we find out later that something occurred. And whether it's like what you were wearing to whether you are aware of who is present, because at that point, like a month from now or next week or whatever, all of a sudden now we have an issue because it's going to be, well, why didn't we know? Why wasn't that told to us then? Right? You see what I'm saying?
I understand. Yeah.
So I guess the question is, did you change prior to going to this meeting?
No.
You just went straight there.
Yeah, I just went.
Okay. Did you, what I'm sort of trying to, so you went to this meeting because it was curious, right? Which makes sense. And you went by yourself. Did you call anyone to let them know you were going somewhere? Like,
No.
you were willing, you're just like, fuck it, if it's a trap?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I just went to the meeting spot.
Were you not perhaps concerned of your well-being?
I mean, yeah, I was a little bit concerned, but I don't know. I received the phone call and I just went to the location described.
What if, because I'm trying to like sort of understand, right, like that, you know, it could have been, because you were recently attacked, right, in New Babylon. So these guys may have beef. I truthfully haven't really looked into the details, but I presume there was possibly an issue with that. You're investigating the faceless, the, you know, we got the archivist, we got this, that, and the third. And given they don't know whether you're on duty or off duty, why didn't you think to like say, you know, maybe let me um um
Like
why not?
notify someone else.
Yeah.
You know, that's a pretty good question. Um, I just thought that by showing up, it would reduce the threat that was coming towards me at the time,
Mm-hmm.
because it was a fairly threatening phone call. Just the fact that it was an unknown number and modulated voice. So I just acted at the time, being that I just went to the location.
So you weren't really thinking too much about what this could mean if you could have gotten just ripped.
Yeah, that didn't really cross my mind at the time. I guess I had a morbid curiosity of what this was all about, and I just went to try to find the location he was describing because I was also kind of curious on what he meant by Vinewood Pier. You know, I've never heard a location described as the Vinewood Pier before.
So this is the first time I'm hearing it's kind of like there's like a threat at play. What made it
No, I
threatening?
wouldn't say there was a threat. It was just the cumulative facts about the phone call itself being from an unknown number
Right.
and a completely disguised voice.
Was there no marshals on duty?
I do not recall.
Was like, you know,
I mean, I know McAllister was on duty like 24/7 around that time, and Peters was occasionally on duty.
mhm.
Um, but I do not recall Um,
For reference, we should
that day.
always be, for self-preservation purposes and because of the line of work we do, it should be almost natural to, no matter what it is, right? Even if someone that like, Flippy or, Edgar de Castillo or whatever is like, yo, dog, I want to meet, you should always tell someone to give a welfare check, because what if you went over there and you just got murked, right? They slit your neck.
Yeah, I would not want to meet with any of those individuals.
But you're getting a call from someone disguising their voice and sending you a ping and say, come here.
Yeah, you've got a point.
And none of this sort of came to mind, like, in this particular situation.
No, that didn't really come to mind. I received the phone call and I tried to find the described location, and that's when I found that pickup truck.
I see. Did you have a sense of fear at all going to this?
I mean, I would say a bit of fear, just curiosity. I guess you could say, a little bit of the curiosity that killed the cat type of thinking, I
Like,
guess,
what's
or
the worst
lack
that can
of.
happen? They might murk me. I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm trying to understand the psychological state at the time of that. Because to me, from where I'm sitting, this seems rather abnormal, especially for a marshal or anyone in the line of law, right? Replace this with any other officer, I would very much expect that they would at least ask someone to, check on them, or like, hey man, I'm about to go to some random ping, give me a call back later. But the only time I would not do that is if I felt comfortable. So did you feel comfortable going to this, or?
No, I wouldn't say I was comfortable going there. It was just a morbid curiosity. Some sort of meeting in a location, and to show up now and to try to find the location of that meeting too, because I do enjoy searching for locations. Just like the other day, I was able to find that location of where Junior Huntley was located in that video.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to locate the approximate location without even looking at the video, just by uh, listening to the radio and having them describe that there is a blue van and a wooden fence.
Mm.
And my idea of where the location could have been was actually correct when I looked at the video. Before I even looked at the video, actually, it turned out to be that location. So I just have a knack for finding locations, and the fact that it was the Vinewood Pier, which I've never heard before in my life, I guess I took it as a challenge. And so I did search, and then I found the pickup and then the boot prints. And
I think for me, where it gets a little strange is like, okay, so you've arrived here. This guy's blacked out. He's pointing this thing called T Tango. And then these people arrive. And there isn't even the natural thought of like, why didn't you make a report for it?
well, I feel like I just exited the situation safely, and I just kind of continued with my day after that.
Are you familiar with um are you familiar with Frank and Nora being kidnapped alongside the mayor's son, Helios?
No, I'm not.
Are you familiar with Frank and Nora?
Yes, I know that who they are. I met with them with Gunner a few times in this very location.
And they never told you about the kidnapping?
I have not seen Frank or Nora since Gunnar was the director.
I see.
We met here and he would discuss, articles and some things that the marshals were looking into, and they were always wanting to get like the police's perspective on things because I guess the LSPD and BCSO were not really talking with news at the time.
Are you familiar with? So they never mentioned to you about the kidnapping? Like or did Gunnar ever, bring that up to you? That's something I'm finding a little strange because that was a
When did
very
this
big
happen?
around that time.
That Gunnar was still director?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because the concern I'm having right now
was
is
this in Grapeseed?
what was in Grapeseed.
I remember Gunnar went up to Grapeseed before, and I was wondering what he was doing up there, and it may have been with Frank. And I think I texted him like, "Are you okay?" or
It
tried to
wasn't.
contact
No.
him, and he said it was just a prank or something about someone getting kidnapped.
So, um, so there's a whole thing with Let me give you a. So that was actually in this time frame. Um, and that's why this is so important to write things down. Is in the time window that you have described meeting these individuals. Did these individuals that showed up, did they have any? Previously, I'd asked if the individual pointing at things like Tango, or and whatnot, I'd asked for any descriptors, and you mentioned he's got a leather jacket. The other people that came to the pier in black, and am I correct in saying that they were all wearing black?
Yeah, gray and black, like dark colors, I would say.
Were
Like really dark,
were
like
any of
gray
them
or
female?
black. I believe one was female.
Okay. Um, do you believe? Okay, and was her hair exposed?
Uh, yeah, I think so.
What color would you say it is?
I think it was gray.
And of the other individuals, so just could you describe these different individuals to me?
I think the female had a motorcycle helmet on that was black.
Okay.
And I really don't remember what the other two males had. They just had like all black or dark gray outfits on.
Did any of them had like goggles? With one had
Just the
goggles, right?
I think just the guy smoking the cigarette may have had like those pilot goggles on, kind of like a balaclava or like something like that, and then the goggles covering the eyes.
Did any of them have a hat on?
I I don't recall. I don't know nothing like a top hat or anything like really obvious. It was just typical all black.
Did any of them have any non-black and gray colors?
No.
So you may have met the people that kidnapped Nora and Frank.
Really?
So it's very important based on the descriptors that you're providing here that especially given that this is tied to Echo, which was tied to the Nora and Frank kidnapping, that, you know, just to be very clear, I want to just, it's important that I put this out here, is that if what you're describing to me today is inaccurate, you're leaving out things that I mean, we're looking at felony obstruction of justice, right? So
Okay, I'm happy to share any information.
I recognize that. I'm just, there is a part of me here, Hobbler, just to be very clear, is that I know that some of these guys are your friends, including the ones that were fired, right? And I told someone else this earlier, unrelated, right? Completely unrelated, because sometimes friends, sometimes colleagues, sometimes family, there's almost an expectation that we do things for them, or we're made to do things, or we, you know, like we walk into a church, right? And we're attending that church because we've been invited. And simply attending that church does not mean that you're responsible for what might be happening in the back room or what might be happening at night, right? In the back room, you know, there might be, you know, political plans taking place. And at night, some of those individuals may be taking up arms against the government. Simply attending that church is not illegal. But leaving out that, hey, some of these people went into the back room and maybe attending late night, militant secession meetings would be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You had mentioned previously that the word echo came to mind, and echo tango, right? Whiskey. There becomes like a very, and especially with November 11th being the date that Frank and Nora being kidnapped, things start to get pretty.
Wait, what was the date?
11th.
October?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, you said November, so I was just...
Oh, October. Yep. Things start to get a little crazy. Now, keep in mind, I've interviewed a handful of folks. And what's interesting is, in the situation with Frank and Nora, there was actually a woman and 3 males, all with very similar outfits. Have you kidnapped Frank and Nora?
No.
Were you asked to kidnap anyone?
No.
Okay.
I would have reported such a crime, or the request of such a thing.
And you've never been made appraised of the Frank and Nora kidnapping?
No, I was not aware that they were kidnapped.
Are you aware that Bobby was giving material tied to Echo?
Bobby who?
The one that I fired yesterday? Ex-Marshal?
No. Was she really?
Yes.
No, I did not know that.
Are you aware that Bobby was willing on recording stating that he's willing to let Frank and Nora die if it's for the betterment of the state?
Oh, are you saying Bobby?
Bobby.
Okay. No, I had no idea. I'm actually interested in whatever he said, but No, I
Bobby
had no
said
idea
quite
that
a bit.
did he really say that?
I swear on everything I love.
That's crazy.
And this is why I don't particularly believe that you're a psycho. I think you're a good marshal. And I think that Bobby probably reached out to you. In fact, I know he did. And I think that there's probably a bit more that you know about him that you may intentionally or unintentionally be leaving out. And like I said, this is all on recording. This is interview number like 8. In fact, most of the day today in Riker's vehicle, I've been uploading videos to YouTube and making them unlisted. I don't think that what you have been asked to do was published. Like, I don't think when I give the example of the church, the back room, and what's happening late at night, I think you were invited to the church. But little did you know what the hell's happening out in the middle of the woods. Right?
Yeah, I mean, just the weird circumstances of the meeting itself. No one talking, and the attire, it seemed almost like ritualistic or something.
It seemed ritualistic.
Just the fact that there were etchings in the dock, no one was talking, you know, the attire. It was just kind of seemed evil or strange, like ominous.
Are you surprised that Bobby would have invited you to something like this?
Yes.
Has he mentioned anything about why do you call your helicopter Patriot 1?
I made that up yesterday while flying because it was, as the San Andreas State Marshals, Gunner kind of installed into the Marshals, I guess, that we were very patriotic.
Do you think
So
it's patriotic to storm the Capitol?
no, I would consider that a federal crime.
And what if I were to tell you that that's the kind of material that Bobby was proselytizing?
He said storm the Capitol.
That's effectively what this material points at, and we can get to that material afterwards.
No, no. When I said Patriot One, it was just a fun name that I came up with. It wasn't Air One because I'm in a Super Valero or Valito with the San Andreas State Marshals. Maybe it's called something different. And sometimes when you're flying an aircraft, you can come up with your own call sign for it. So I decided to name it Patriot One, as in, a Marshall aircraft, and for what we stand for, which would be
Protecting the state.
protecting, yeah, being part of the state, upholding what the state stands for, and being patriotic to that.
Have you ever heard the quote about give me a second. Did you ever hear the have you ever heard of the quote give me a second, that the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants? You know what that
I
quote
haven't
is?
heard that.
You've never heard of that
No,
quote?
what is that from?
That quote is from Thomas Jefferson.
Mm. Yeah, I haven't. It doesn't ring a bell.
So you mentioned Gunner's patriotism and instilling it. What was he instilling?
So when I knew Gunner as the director, he was absolutely against terrorism. He pounded into us that we serve the state and the United States and that we will do anything to stop terrorism.
Does he know we don't serve the United States?
I mean, he made us, when we clocked in, we had to recite the national anthem to the flag. Every time
Are
that we,
you aware we are not related to the United States?
that's what he was telling me, that we
Oh,
are
no.
technically part of the United States, but as the state of San Andreas, because in the courtroom it said it has the emblem that states the United States on it.
I think that's scuff.
Okay,
No,
well,
that's
what he was telling me, and all the other marshals.
Let's look, I can understand sometimes the confusion, but for someone who's taken an oath to the Constitution, it's unfortunate. He was confused. There is sometimes confusion around that.
Yeah, I'll say that.
We're a
with
territory.
Gunner sometimes. Oh, okay.
Like Puerto Rico.
Yes, I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. It
'Cause
was also
otherwise we'd
with
be
Gunner difficult to tell whether he was in a kind of jovial, like joking mood, or if he was actually in director mode, if you will. He kind of had the propensity to switch back and forth without notice, and expect certain ways of acting.
Because so do you recognize that the Constitution of the United States is irrelevant to us?
Yes, I do. We just follow the legislation as it's written for San Andreas.
Well, we have
in the
the
MDT.
state of San Andreas, of which we take an oath to.
Yes.
And and as such, like, we have no oath to the United States, because there's nothing related to the United States with us, really, because if it did, well, like I said, we're like Puerto Rico, right? We have our own laws. We are not bound to the United States Constitution. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of things that would derive out of that are not applicable here, right? So, from a legislative perspective, one could even argue, if you want to really be pedantic, that if Gunner had you pledging, Gunner made you pledge to the allegiance to the United States.
Yes, he put it in the SOPs to.
What?
Yes, it was to
Are you aware he made you commit treason?
Yeah, I know where you're going with that, and I mean, I guess there's no Pledge of Allegiance written in the legislation that we know about, or that's nationally recognized. So.
It's kind of funny when you start to kind of think about it, no?
Yeah.
But there's nothing funny about treason.
His own logic. No, there's not at all. And yeah, that's yep. It's not good.
Do you believe that Gunner Kane might? What else? You might be curious where Gunner Kane's name kind of comes into play. He's actually been found. He was found at the apartments yesterday, talking about the marshals and how we're going in the
Really?
shitter. Likes to speak a lot about me. His quote to Edgar was, "Don't tell him." I called Edgar.
He's really in contact with Edgar.
Yes.
Because that's crazy to me. Okay.
In fact, statement was given not once but twice. Ruth was present for the second one. I learned about what led to Gunner being shot, but I happened to call Edgar a while before Gunner was shot, and what was told to me is that Gunner said, "Do not tell him that I'm here." And Edgar will freely mention that. It was mentioned on the phone call because he said, "Speaking to a paladin right now." And I got curious what the hell he meant by that. A paladin is a French crusader. It's like that's where the term kind of comes from. It, you're protecting. Turns out it was Gunner. We found that out afterwards after Harper Belmont noted, I think like 15, 20 minutes later on radio, that the ex-director had been shot. We put two and two together that it must have been Edgar. Edgar then confirmed in a later phone call that he was the shooter. And he didn't confirm it directly, but it was indirect, right? I didn't do anything, but if I were to, and he went on to say he was asking for it. Now, in Edgar talk, that means Gunner was likely talking shit at the end of the conversation. There's other things noted too. In that third conversation, I guess he thought that Gunner Kane was actually William Gunner, a cop from 4 or 5 years ago. Used to work for the Davis Police Department. Did Gunner and Edgar know each other? Because it didn't sound like Edgar really knew who he was.
I've only ever known Edgar as a kind of criminal mastermind of
I wouldn't say
kind of a
that.
dangerous man.
Criminal mastermind.
Well, he's a hardened criminal. He's the kind
Sure.
that has like a rap sheet that goes across the whole state. I at this point try to avoid that man at all costs. I want nothing to do with him. I have
Why is that?
nightmares of him, actually. I just have this reoccurring nightmare, actually, where he stars in it. He is walking towards me on an old dirt road.
Have you met him?
Not that I know.
But how are you getting nightmares?
I don't know. I just started getting them after I woke up from the ICU. He's walking down a dirt road with a revolver, and I start drowning. It feels like...
It sounds like Edgar shot you at New Babylon, if I'm gonna be honest. Were you, when you were in New Babylon, were you looking for things?
I was tasked with trying to gain entry into New Babylon, fully UC.
Yeah, that was a bad idea.
Went fishing on a boat, and I was in the Alamo Sea.
Prior to this, did you ever meet Edgar?
No.
Did Gunner ever meet Edgar?
I don't know. I hadn't heard anything.
And the reason I say that is like Edgar is literally like the cover of Faceless. Like everyone and their mother knows this. Like it could be a 2-month officer and know Edgar and Faceless. Like if you had,
Yeah.
if there was a magazine being made, there was a point in time where you'd see Mr. Blue and Edgar with his shirt off grabbing that blue popsicle. You know what I mean? And so what I'm trying to understand here is like, how is it that Gunner, whose job was to look into the Faceless, never spoke to this guy, interrogated this guy? I mean, they hadn't even spoke. I mean, it's strange, no? Like you're this patriot. You're the director of the Marshals. You're going to protect the state. Yet you've never even bothered to speak to the most known associate of the Faceless.
Yes. Yes. Edgar's name was all over the Gunner's report about the Faceless.
And he never mentioned like, hey man, let's interrogate him. Did he? I'm confused.
No, he was more, at the time, he was more concerned with getting subpoenas out for all of the suppliers. And
What are you going to do with that if you don't talk to people?
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I do think that we were cooped up too much under Gunner's lead.
That's somewhat understandable given that I only just learned yesterday Rooker's not able to go out. That's changed.
Yes, I was not able to leave the office for a good probably 2 months.
Yeah, that's not happening under my rule. That's insane. That has no value. Knowing people has value. We're not in San Andreas to sit in rooms. I don't even particularly. Only reason we're in here is because this is a closed session.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the patrol SOPs just to get used to and to get familiar with the other officers in the county, like on a really trusting basis, because they're all about patrolling and
Well,
they're
let's see where this interview
following their
goes
SOPs,
first.
but sure.
What I'm hearing is that Gunner was teaching y'all patriotism and wanting to protect the state. And you have to understand, I'm looking at this evidence and I'm telling you that I do believe you're a good guy, right? But you're invited to a meeting with individuals that were probably the same day went and kidnapped Frank and Nora and the son of the mayor, and it was left unreported. And then a week and a half later, Bobby, not only your friend, but your colleague, also operating under Gunner, started handing out material that is like the build up to Waco. Are you familiar with Waco?
That's the cult that was infiltrated by the FIB, right?
Yeah, Waco, Texas.
Yeah.
Now I'm drawing that comparison for sake of, it's not 1-to-1, but it draws a comparison of what this material is, in which he's proselytizing for civilians to take arms up against the Faceless and the inferences of the government. Do you see where this becomes very concerning?
Yes.
And it is like, I have to cut And it might be I cut a little too deep, right? It's but you know, Bobby sat in here just yesterday, and when I asked him, were you not concerned when you gave this material to civilians, including him stating that he called you, right? And we have it on recording. He said he called you, Hobbler. And we know it's at one of these meetings. And that when I asked him, were you not concerned when you gave civilians, whom you are aware of what those civilian names are, this material, that if they go get themselves killed, you're responsible? He told me it's like the trolley problem. And I was more direct with him, and I said, you're willing to let them die? And he said, if it's for the greater good of the state. Like, that's fucking literal insanity. Now, once again, I don't particularly believe that you are going down this, have that same mindset. But the problem is that you have been found attending one of these meetings, and there's not, you know, you're saying you didn't, you left, but there's no report for it. You've got the phone call from Bobby on a separate day for it. And it's like, what's going on? There's got to be something here that I'm missing.
I understand the concern, but I'm sharing anything and everything that I can possibly recollect about the event.
I understand.
I was not aware about Frank and Nora being kidnapped along with the mayor's son at the time.
You know, the scary thing about it is that I think that all the sitting in an office, including Gunner, if he's never spoken to Edgar, and I can swear to you on this, Edgar didn't know who he was. He thought it was William Gunner from 6 years ago during the Sanguine War. He thought that's who he was meeting.
That's kind of
and that when the director of the marshals, and not only was he a director then, but also someone that was on the Faceless case from the very beginning, is standing in front of Edgar de Castillo. And Gunner is accepting this. He first met with Hassan and this other guy, because we already looked into all this, right? Related and unrelated, is that they actually met with Hassan first, and then they brought him to Edgar. Like, the meeting was set up. Not brought him, but they had another meeting afterwards where he got shot. Is that Edgar, for a while, did not even know who that was. Is that this guy investigated for 6 months. That where I'm getting here is that it sounds like that he put you and Bobby into a room and himself in a room, didn't even think about learning about his subject matter, and may have literally gone psycho, like crazy. Like, you know, when you get, like, you're watching too much of the same, like, news channel and reading particular publications, and you're reading these reports, and all of a sudden you have a different, you've now formed radical. I'm sorry?
Radical.
Sure. Yeah. He may have, like, fucking self-radicalized, right? Where he may have this, like, world view of what may be occurring that's just not aligned with the reality. And this is not to say that Faceless doesn't need to be fucking deleted. Yes, they do. It doesn't mean that Edgar's a good guy. All of a sudden, he's not.
No, that's really surprising to me. And, you know, I do have some concerns about Gunner, just the way he was acting towards people, even including myself. While he was director at times, he just seemed like unstable at times, and uh, I don't know how to describe it other than he would get really angry and he just wouldn't drop it. Even when people had good reason or, did understand what he was saying, or like he just wouldn't accept a different perspective um, at times. And I don't know, Peters saw it too, um, but he would get very angry with people or like kind of unlogically, irrationally angry at times. So I don't know what would be causing that, but
Was it on
that's kind of
particular?
down the same route.
Was it about certain subject matters?
I think what was happening is that he was kind of thrown into the director's position,
Mm.
and he was so paranoid about making sure that everyone follow the SOPs correctly and they're not out of line, making him look bad as the director, like he has these AWOL officers going around doing things out of SOP or not following legislation to a T. And that pressure that he kind of created in his own mind of this is all my fault, this could be me on the line, that was getting to him to the point where he would lash out at people. And he just couldn't really maintain the leadership position um, in a way that brought people together and empowered them to do their job professionally and autonomously.
Mm. I can sympathize with that, and like I said, the concern is, and why this is being taken so serious is, he managed to effectively brainwash Bobby into this, and I really, really liked Bobby. He's funny, he's got good energy, but the guy, I hate to say it, doesn't realize he's going to show up on a wanted poster. As a marshal, giving people material that encourages them to commit treason and swear an oath, I'm not going to be surprised if we end up locking him up. Because this isn't, this is the marshals. We aren't local police. If people are actively asking, proselytizing, well, I'll read you the material in a moment here. Maybe this will better get you to sort of understand where I'm coming from. So I want you to make note of some of the things I had mentioned about the paladin, the patriotism, whatnot. At the top of this document, it's titled Militis Sancti. Are you familiar with this terminology? Have you heard of it before?
No.
And I want you to, in the back of your mind, understand that give me a second. It stands for Knights of the Holy or Soldiers of the Holy. Now, keep in mind, Edgar referenced him as a paladin. Why? I don't know. I don't know what the context of that entire conversation was. But it's very odd, right? The coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is not something that... You ever play Guess Who?
Yeah.
This is like if we have, How many marshals are there? How many law enforcement? We're like knocking all these guess who chips down, and there's like one person who's popping up. And you'll see why in a moment, even further. It reads, to the awakened. And mind you, this is the material Bobby was likely given by Gunner to hand out. And I'll explain the rest in a moment. But he hands this to Frank. He hands it to Nora. He hands it to other civilians. Now, he claims that he did so because weeks prior, 2 people with guns came up to him and said, go print this. And that after he came back from his LOA or whatever, he was encouraged to go do it. And it's a bullshit story because he ends up telling the truth later. At first it was pressure, and then it turned into a full willingness. That he took up the identity of Echo. The same group that kidnapped Nora, that kidnapped Frank, and then
That's
kidnapped...
confirmed?
Yes. Kidnapped Nora. What specifically?
You're saying that Bobby is Echo and that...
Oh, he told me he's Echo.
And that he kidnapped...
No.
Frank and Nora?
He did not admit to doing that. So when we can get to... So he was dressed up as Echo. He claims that he was dressed up to be Echo because that is the group he's doing it for. So the group Echo or whatever, the person Echo who might be a part of Tango and Whiskey and all this shit, right? Is that he took up the moniker Echo from the guy who is Echo, right? Even though he could be Echo. You see where I'm going with this?
Okay. Yeah, he's acting as the leader.
Precisely. And these people gave him like a parchment to go bring to the liquid library and print, right? Mm-hmm. And that he's doing so because they had guns to him weeks prior. He then claims that they just mysteriously showed up when he's like, oh shit, I need to go print this book. They show up when he's printing the book, supposedly, right? And that he feared for his life, so he did these things, right? Which is fucking bullshit because the day before, he wanted to infiltrate UC the Faceless. So I wasn't buying it. But like I said, he ended up coming a bit more clean about him being proud of what was going on here. And he said it was very like patriotic, and what was the word he used? It starts with a P as well. It was very noble. But so he, as Echo, moniker or otherwise, now mind you, this motherfucker may actually be in that group of people that kidnapped Frank and Nora, but not just Frank and Nora. You ready for this? Helios. And you know what the topic was? Questions about the Faceless. Now, let's go back to the scene where he's as Echo with a bunch of civilians, including Frank and Nora. And ready for this? Gunner. Yeah, we figured that out. He admitted it. He gave us the entire list of people he called. And the material reads as follows. To the awakened, you have been observed, not by the eyes that linger without a face in the shadows, but by those who guard against them. In this age where truth is buried beneath deception and the faceless weave their influence through every corner of our state, Sanctum stands resolute. Remember, the title is Kings of the Holy, Soldiers of the Holy, right? And Sanctum stands for it's like a sacred place. The sacred, right? Stands resolute. But one light alone cannot hold back the dark. It is time to seek more, to awaken others who still see through the fog. This is recruitment material. Agree?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
To
I would say so.
To seek those with conviction who fight without recognition, protect without praise, and hold the line when others break. Accepting this seal is swearing an oath to guard against the threats hidden in the shadows, even in the face of certain death. It is pledging your oath to sanctum and those that fight against the faceless. If you accept this seal, guard it with your life. With the others, move forward with purpose, gather the vigilant and awakened. Let them accept the seal. Let them take the oath. Let them stand beside you. Let them stand as soldiers of sanctum. When shadows fall, sanctum stands. And on the right side of this paper is a seal with the American flag and an individual saluting in silhouette. And on the corner, it states, the seal holds power only when the words, I am awakened, are spoken as it is revealed. Bobby is handing this to civilians while a marshal with the moniker Echo. The same moniker used by the individuals who kidnapped 2 news reporters and the son of the mayor asking about the faceless. And Bobby says, yeah, well, if they died, it's better for the state. Or no. If they died, it's worth it for the greater good. He claims it was to look into who Echo might have been, but he didn't know anything about, he didn't have any explanation as to why these people are dangerous. Because he never once brought up the kidnapping of Echo. Why didn't you bring that up? What makes these guys any different than some randos on the street? That he's that scared of them, willing to jump in and get, and he was asking quite a bit about the faceless, right? Leading up to this. He wanted to go get involved with any big case. He wanted to, anytime faceless came up. You know what happened the day this occurred? What makes it even more strange is that he was up early that day because I was trying to get Bobby involved. He said, anytime something big happens, you let me know. And I said, look, man, you come around duty 4 hours before storm. People are kind of winding down around that time. So come around earlier, it might be easier. Well, you know what? He came around early that day, next day, that is. And he's like, yo, dude, anything going on, dude? And I'm like, look, I'm busy right now, as I normally am. You see me running around, fucking phone calls nonstop, right? Mayor's missing. I mean, who's to say Bobby didn't fucking kidnap Junior, right? At this stage. You have to start wondering those questions. I don't think he did, mind you. But he gives me this call and I'm busy and I'm like, hey, go link up with Chris. Ride along with him, get to know him because quite frankly, Bobby be calling quite a bit. And I'm busy and I can't deal with a 1 hour yap session on God knows what. But you know, if he hooks up with Chris, he gets to know some of our other marshals. And then I find him here. I find him doing this Echo shit. I couldn't ID him there. But guess what? His DNA was on the book. And what's more is I found that out later. After the situation ends, Bobby gives me a call and he says, hey, dude. Yo, man, I thought you were going to call me if something big happened. I'm like, where have you been? Were you not with Chris? And he goes, oh yeah, dude, you did tell me to go hang out with him. Where have you been then? Oh, dude, I was just like, whatever. I'm like, wait a minute. And that's when it clicked. I'm like, this motherfucker was Echo. And I go, were you acting as a robot? No, dude, I'm not a robot. Were you sounding like one? No, dude. And then later, he lies again. That's when the news center situation happened. And then I realized what the fuck was going on. And it's not till later he admitted it. And then in this very room, 2 nights ago, not yesterday evening, the evening prior to that is when he started to come a lot more clean. Him,
Wow.
Tinkleman, Gunner. There's a lot said on here. I think some of it he didn't even intend to say. But pressure will do that to you.
Huh. So interesting. Where was the book found?
He handed it to me.
Okay. Didn't you said like the book had DNA on it or something?
I played a little game with him.
Oh, okay.
That's when he came clean.
Okay. Well, that's probably the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. And now, yeah, I hope you understand my position here and why this has to be taken so serious.
Yes.
Let alone the fact that the fucking tablet's front page got leaked.
The tablet's front page.
You know the login?
The Skynode thing.
The login was captured and we happened to intercept it. Someone tried to release it to the press and we stopped it. And so now I'm in a really fucked position because I have to be like, well, we know Gunner's a degenerate. And I know already he's been leaking to the press, which is a whole other matter. He may be sly. Some of the people, myself included, have been investigating much, much longer, right? So certain, timelines, et cetera, et cetera. Once again, guess who, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we, in fact, have a good idea of the current network. Why the fuck would the Faceless release it? We already know Gunner's been leaking to the press. I know, listen, I'm a big fan of the press. They're great. But we have statute of limitations. We need certain things get released to the press. It conflicts the judiciary. What's crazy is you read the latest edition? Number 13?
I've got it right here.
Crack that thing open for me.
Okay.
And notice the technological warfare. You read that at all?
Let's see. I will read it right now. Do you want me to read it out loud?
No. Go ahead. Just read it. It's fine. It's going to be technological warfare. And I want you to understand that photo, no face, no mercy, no future.
Mm-hmm.
That right there was going to be likely where we would have seen the tablet photo. Luckily, like I said, we intercepted. And we knew where the destination was.
Interesting. Well, Gunner would work pretty closely with Skinner and Nora. He did have me drop off information, declassified information that he prepared for them before, and it was logged in report. Let me see here.
I see it. Do you know what it was?
Yeah, it was like the first one was like basically nothing. It was like the rats got to it, I think. So it was like a very small, unreadable snippet. The second one was more generally about the faceless, like they are, they have a capability of having militarized aircraft. Um, they are a terrorist organization, etc. Some pictures of the like bomber that was pictured in the Skynode tablet. Um, what else? The third one was along those lines. It was like about the JetSam docks, I think.
Okay.
That's when,
But we
like,
don't have to
the
go over
first.
like, and that's fine. But the point that I bring up here is, you see my concern here, right?
Yes.
Is that this to me sounds like either A, this with everything I've said so far, it screams to me that either Gunner has old evidence that he never discarded and was attempting to release to the press. He released these details to the press, which the press should be made aware of things, right? But
Yes.
I want you to note that these things absolutely fuck our investigation, right? For every
Yes.
couple steps we're ahead, this puts us back quite a bit. And should the people know things? Abso-fucking-lutely, but not critical components of intelligence. And so either he released it while withholding marshal information, things that he obtained while a marshal. You don't get to take that when you quit, right? Including photographs.
Mhm.
However, what or someone like Bobby ended up doing it, right? Or another marshal. Like, this is crazy. So hence, and when I put this entire picture together, and here's the other kind of tidbit, right? High from a successful rate of 2 containers undiscovered. It's just the content of this kind of zeroes in on it. There's also something else that's quite interesting. We believe that our article is in today's paper regarding Torres Sanchez was an example of such a job, as well as our mystery man that was taken at the vineyard and seen walking out of the ICU this week. This is, you don't know this stuff unless you're either a member of the Faceless or a marshal. Right?
Yeah.
So now this is like imagine, whether you're a disgraced director or an existing marshal, it's the sanctity of this department that's at stake, right? And knowing all this, would you have voted for Gunnar Kane?
Definitely not.
Why did you vote for him to begin with, knowing that he was a hothead and all the other previous things that you mentioned in regards to it being a concern?
Well, Okay, I'd met with you before. This was concerning the Milton, uh, I'll call it an atrocity with the vehicles that were smashed, you know.
Hmm.
I was standing in that command room and I really did like the way you dealt with that. And I saw the leadership capability you had there. So I really, really kind of had you in mind when voting. But at the same time, you know, it was kind of pushed fairly hard through the marshals that we wanted to nominate one person for the nominee for the director because otherwise it could split the vote. There were concerns about that. So, you know, we were asked one by one by who was it? He had who was it? Oh man. He had basically an assistant who was a marshal who would ask each person who they're voting for, and Gunnar was standing right next to him the whole time. So there was some pressure um, there. So I guess I gave in to that pressure. Um, and I know Peters was there. I was going to tell Gunnar, you know, I did not like the way that he really pressured Peters into voting for or nominating Kane. I mean, he was right there. Um, and Peters was saying, "No, I really would like to put Brian down." And there was a back and forth. Um, and ultimately, Peters gave in uh, with a little bit of attitude that, fine, you know, put me down for Kane then. And so basically, the whole department decided to put down Kane as the nominee ultimately.
Are you aware that Chris wanted to run for director as well?
Yes, he did mention that during that back and forth. I think instead of your name, it was his own.
Hmm.
And he voted for you, I believe. I
That
think.
is accurate. Yep.
So,
And there was 3 votes. Uh I won't go too much into depth with that any further. I do think, especially with you leading up the charge on this situation up at Bolingbrook, right? It's very important these things come to light because I might be gone in a month. Who knows? I might get shot in the face by Bobby at this rate. Where I work, and who knows? And in order for the Institute to continue being what it is, we need to be able to say no. If we have corruption, I mean, whether it's voter fraud, et cetera, if those things aren't brought to light, right? If they're not brought to court and stopped, who's to say the next person doesn't do the same, right? We've seen what politics can do to the city. That's why I have not approached any of y'all in regards to the mayoral elections and such. It has no place here, right? We can have our personal opinions, which are good. We express them. Democracy, right?
yeah.
But
Yeah, it's the very thing we protect, really.
right. With all being said, I am not someone who will state, don't make friends with X, Y, and Z. Not saying don't be friends with some of the people named here. But friends do not make friends commit terrorism and treason. Or make you lose your job. Or put this pressure on you. And so these are things I want you to consider going forward in the event they do reach out to you or say, hey, you know, you want to come to our barbecue and they got fucking, you know, God knows what happening over there, right? These are matters that you must report if they come to light. whether tonight, tomorrow, etc., etc. But you know, is that something you're going to be able to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions for me?
Well, you said you had the recording of the interrogation with Bobby, and that, I mean, it's just unbelievable, some of these things I'm hearing. So
I think once they are at a point where the investigation closes, because it is a IAA matter,
okay.
we can kind of open it up. Like I said, I think right now he's facing some very serious shit.
Okay.
So
Yeah, just at some point, I don't want to interfere with anything.
absolutely. Like I said, just with this recording, it is like IAA is literally 3 individuals that I trust to handle this appropriately. And it's not something I wanted to create, but here we are. You know what I mean? And I don't want it interfering with because it was open up to everyone in the Marshals Department, right? Especially with certain names being named and whatever. I don't want people to come into blast or start questioning who they're working with, right? I've already interrogated Blunt. I've already interrogated a lot of other folks. There's a lot of inconsistencies, I will say that. And, you know, but like I said, I'm going to make sure I get to the, you know, handle of it. So, okay. We'll go ahead and end the recording here at 9:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Actually, before we do, just so you're aware, for what it's worth, I am actually a war veteran leading this city into war with Sanguine. And I was the director then. We uncovered a different state known as Sanguine, operated by Jaeger Demon Blood, with UC operatives that operated for about 4 to 5 months, uncovering kidnappings from this state over there, of whom were put into forced labor, who some were killed and eaten, heroin being shipped over, RPGs, bombs, car bombs, you name it. Civilians were endlessly tormented. If you think Senior Buns is bad today, I want you to think about way back when, where helicopters would fly by and people would RPG nonstop civilian businesses for the bidding of the folks over in Sanguine. We had all of our police departments blown up. Paleto Police Department, the Davis PD, where the marshal's office is now, Mission Row PD, which is where that new reconstruction occurred, the courthouse. I think every single PD was bombed except for the Vinewood PD, the one off of Rockford and Vespucci. The bombings of which the chief of police died in. A lot of lives were lost. And after the end of our investigation, I made a 15-page proposition, evidence, etc., in which they were to hand over their weapons and their drugs and let us freely go there to ensure that they were no longer had, weapons of, let's call them, medium destruction, and that the cannibalism had stopped. Otherwise, war would occur, right? Unfortunately, due to the individual I adhere to, he died, by the way. The press and the public could not know why we were going to war. But we went there. And we ultimately won. Or did we? Because after the events of 8/11, the bombing of Davis Police Department, The press had no idea why the fuck we went. We ended up fighting people that live here today who went there to fight on the side of the Sanguinians for God knows what fucking reason. But a big part of it was that no one knew why we're doing the fight, which is why the press must be kept in the loop. But after the war had ended, we had about 60 people in prison for about 60 people in prison for 60 years. 60 by 60. Crazy.
Oh, wow.
And a panel of idiots began to ask for probable cause. And instead of offering up those individuals amnesty for through tribunal, right? Because war prisoners can have tribunals that can be let go. None of that was done. And so when this city door was reopened 2 years ago, a lot of that hatred for the government remained, both in and out of it. Some people still to this day call me a war criminal. Why? Because they don't fucking know why we went to war. While others chomp at the teeth to do it again. This time targeting not just City Hall, but the police departments and the mayors. And I do believe that the Faceless have infiltrated the government. The problem is that SASM cannot fall into its hands over this lunacy, like starting fucking militias. So, next time this dumb fuck tells you he's a patriot, know that you're working for one.
All right, sir.
All right.
I'm glad you told me that.
Well, I appreciate your time. When the recording here at 9:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. I know this is a lengthy one. It's been very much appreciated there, Hobbler. All right.
No problem, sir. And thank you for your service.
Yeah.
You must have seen some shit.
Well, the worst was when we had to plant a bomb in there with a bunch of terrorists, and the volunteer combat medic then claimed that I strapped a bomb on her. That never happened.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We don't even have medics. What do we have?
Yeah, there were combat medics. In fact, the one that signed off and tries to tell people that I had done that, she's the one who signed the document that I still have a copy of, in which she asked her medics to be armed with AK-47s, which a lot of those EMS did just that. I will say that me and Veronica Mars, we're on really good terms. She is a war hero. Anytime you do see Veronica, be sure to thank her for her service too. If it wasn't for her, we would not have ended that the last bit of it all. So,
yeah, that's amazing. I've heard all about the war. Well, I've heard about it many times, but not details like that about cannibalism and your leadership.
Wasn't just me. We had my mother, Angel, one who started SASM. There's also Norman Adams, Justice at the time, also stood right next to me as our unit, run under the MCU, the detective unit. We did undercover shit, breaking into radio stations, sending a sub behind enemy lines to take out AA cannons. Silent, right? That's what we're doing here. You know, we're that silent force. Anyways, Hobbler, appreciate it. Priorities for you. The voter situation with Bolingbroke. Number 2, the archivist thing. So as soon as that's good for signing, let me know and I'll send it.
All right. Yeah, I've made good progress already with the archivist thing. I've got a good lead for that, so I could get that together soon.
All right. I appreciate that.
Yep. And then that other thing I mentioned, you apparently knew about that the Charlie thing, the text from Shanglu to Charlie. Charlie
Oh,
to
yes.
Shanglu.
Very, very familiar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Hell yeah. Good work, Hobbler. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you later.
Well, Angel brought back the mother thing, and I said, well, technically, Pred is Knight's dad, and, well, not technically, but there was a point where Pred was Brian's dad, and Angel was Brian's mother. I think I scared the shit out of him.
Oh no. What happened?
Well, series of IAA interviews. I think he may have been close, but not close enough. But you know, the good thing about the interviews is once that warning has been given, you know, you're